Welcome to Theology Matters. Today we're going to take a look at what I believe is the simplest baptismal text in the Bible. In Mark 16:16, Jesus says, "He who believes and is baptized will be saved, but he who does not believe will be condemned." This comes right after Jesus' resurrection. In just a few moments, he will ascend back to the right hand of God. Jesus is speaking to his disciples for the final time on earth, and he leaves them with this instruction in verses 15 and 16. And he said to them, "Go into all the world and preach the gospel to every creature. He who believes and is baptized will be saved, but he who does not believe will be condemned." We want to notice three things in these verses. Number one, Jesus says his disciples are to preach the gospel to every creature. This makes this a worldwide mission. In Matthew 28 and verse 19, he says, "Teach all nations." Jesus says that this is good news, and that is what the word gospel means. And it's to be proclaimed to everybody, not just Jews but Gentiles as well. Peter later comes to this realization in Acts 10:34 and 35. Then Peter opened his mouth and said, "In truth I perceive that God shows no partiality, but in every nation whoever fears him and works righteousness is accepted by him." Standing at the doorstep of the household of Cornelius, Peter concludes that God shows no partiality and that everyone can be saved, even the very Gentiles standing before him. Years earlier, Peter already declared in Acts 2:21, "And it shall come to pass that whoever calls on the name of the Lord will be saved." And at the end of that same sermon, Peter says in verse 39, "For the promise is to you and to your children and to all who are far off, as many as the Lord our God will call." That's the first thing. The second thing is belief and baptism are absolutely required for salvation. I'm going to spend the least amount of time here because Jesus is already very plain. Many people want to deny what Jesus says clearly in this text, that belief and baptism are both for salvation. In doing so, though, they miss something amazing, that God has chosen to bring humans into fellowship with Him. God did not have to offer salvation, but He did. And I am deeply grateful for what Jesus says in the middle of this verse, that belief and baptism are absolutely essential for salvation. Third and finally, belief leads to condemnation. Some people focus on the second half of Mark 16:16 and say it doesn't say that whoever is not baptized will be condemned, so baptism is an essential. But the text doesn't need to say that. Jesus explains this clearly in John 3:18. "He who believes in him is not condemned, but he who does not believe is condemned already, because he has not believed in the name of the only begotten Son of God." Why would someone be baptized if they do not believe in Jesus? Further, someone cannot even be baptized unless they believe. Consider the Ethiopian eunuch in Acts 8 and verse 36 in his conversation with Philip. It ends this way. Now as they went down the road, they came to some water, and the eunuch said, "See, here's water. What hinders me from being baptized?" Then Philip said, "If you believe with all your heart, you may." And he answered and said, "I believe that Jesus Christ is the Son of God." When Philip baptized the eunuch, the only thing that could have stopped him was belief. One must be a believer in order to be baptized. There are others, though, who raise questions about Mark 16, 9 through 20, manuscript differences, and claims about the remaining verses. I'm not going to spend our time chasing all that down, but what I do know is this. The plain teaching of Scripture is clear, and the words of Jesus are unmistakable. This is a worldwide mission Jesus gives to his followers. A teaching where belief and baptism are required for salvation, and a warning that unbelief, well, that leads to condemnation. Thank you for joining me this week. If you enjoyed this video, check out the one I did last week on the household of Cornelius in Acts 10. And remember, friends, theology matters.